Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now it's difficult to know where to start with the Range Rover because it has got one or two issues, but I suppose the logical place to start is with the obvious stuff, and it doesn't get any more obvious than it's with the air suspension. Now I did know it had a problem with the air suspension when I bought it. It did look pretty much like it is now on the image, so it's really low at the front and it's so low at the back I think it's on its bump stops. Now the odd thing about it is when I reversed it into the garage and I stopped halfway, it did pump the air suspension up. But ever since then, even though I've started the car several times, it's never done it since, not even a little bit. You can hear the air compressor going, but apart from that, nothing. Now the system itself is fairly straightforward. There's an air compressor, an air tank, and then on each four corners there's an airbag instead of a coil spring. And they're all controlled by valve blocks. There's one on the front to control the front two, one on the back for the back two, and one in the middle somewhere. So something could go wrong with pretty much any of it. So now there is a fault on the dash, so I think the next step is to scan the car and see what fault codes and information I can get. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start it and see what errors I get. Transmission fault, limited gears, driver's door open, passenger door open, so I can hear the air compressor working. I'm not going anywhere. Hill descent fault, low coolant, parking brake, and that's it so far. So I'm going to let the air compressor do its thing. Now I think the air compressor will just give up at some point. And there we go, suspension fault. And we've got the little suspension icon fault thing pop up. God, you can really smell this car. Right, so I think what I'm going to do now is plug in a diagnostic thing to try and figure out what fault codes it's throwing up. So this is like one of the first ones I ever got. It's a real basic one, cheap one. I've tried this, it does work. It comes up with a couple of codes which are nonsense basically. I've then got this Carista one, which plugs into the OBD2 socket, and it connects to the app on your phone, and it works with lots of cars. It's a subscription thing, and it does work with this car, but you don't get many options because of the year it is. So that is also rubbish. So I've been and bought a slightly more advanced one. It's by iCarSoft, so I'm going to plug that in and see what we can find out. So what you get in this iCarSoft kit, there's only a few things: the instruction book, a cable to connect the unit to the OBD2 port on your car, and the unit itself. There is also a little cable to plug this into a laptop or a PC to update the firmware. So there's no batteries in this, it's powered from your vehicle battery. So simply plug one end into this, and the other end plugs into the OBD2 socket, which is down in the driver's footwell. It's actually really easy to get to. So as soon as you plug it in, it's powered on. There is no on and off switch. Plug it in, it's already powered. So let's have a closer look at this. So we've got the key in the ignition with the ignition on, so all the lights are on there, and we're plugged in, ready to go. So I suppose we'll go into, I've had a little bit of a play with this, so I think I know my way around it enough. So diagnostics. Then we're going to choose Land Rover, that version. So we select our car, which is Range Rover Sport, select our year, diesel V8, manual scan. So now there's 28 modules you can go into, everything from the engine to the instrument pack and everything. So what we're really interested in is the air suspension at the minute. So we can read the fault codes, we can clear the memory, and we can also view data around any of the sensors relating to this module. So let's have a look at the fault codes. So we've got two. So the first one being it's struggling to communicate with the vehicle dynamics control module. Alright, okay, and the second one is pressure increase is too slow when filling the reservoir. So that to me says a couple of things. It could be the reservoir has a leak and it isn't holding the pressure and it's just coming straight out, and the air compressor just can't fill it because there's a hole in it. There could be an issue with the air compressor itself, it's just not providing enough air pressure to the reservoir, or there could be some problem with the pipe work or possibly the valve packs. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is see what sensors there are and then monitor them as the air compressor is running and trying to fill the thing. So what do we want? These are the 68 sensors at the minute in this setting that we can monitor and view in real time. So there's a lot of stuff here, so let me find something that's relevant. So let's go with rear left corner height, because that seems to be the lowest of all the corners. So we'll pick that sensor. Gallery pressure, which I assume is the tank pressure, and I suppose we can have a look at compressor temperature. I think that will do for now. Okay, that'll do for now. So as soon as I hit F2, it's going to start it. So I'll hit F2 and then I'll start the car and we'll see what it does. So now it's monitoring these things. You also get the option to record as well. So I'm also going to record this so I can watch this back. So I'm going to record this information. So it's telling me that the rear left corner height is 100 mil almost below where it should be. Gallery pressure is 99 kilopascals, and that's about atmospheric barometric pressure now, so there is no pressure in the system effectively. It's telling me the reservoir valve is closed, the exhaust valve is closed, and the compressor sensor is getting voltage. Is that everything I see? Okay, let me start the car. So I can hear the compressor and it's shot up to almost 1500 kilopascals. Now I think the upper pressure in the system is supposed to be around 16 bar, which is 1600 kilopascals. So it's not far off. Now the air compressor's stopped and that pressure is just gushing out. It's going somewhere. So either the tank's not holding up. I'm quite happy with the compressor. It's sent to get the pressure up for a minute. But yeah, either the tank's not holding it very well or there's a leak somewhere. There is a leak somewhere. Because that's just going down, 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 down. It says to me, I think we've got a leak. So I'm going to stop recording and go take a look. So underneath here, underneath the car, there's the air compressor somewhere there, and also the air tank, plus one of the valve blocks. So I could reverse the car up onto ramps, but I might need that wheel off at some point. So I need to jack the car up. Now these, I do like these side step things, not these particular ones because they're rusted horrible and bent up oddly. When I first got the car, I couldn't open any of the doors because these side steps were bent up, which prevented the doors from coming out. In fact, I ripped one of the pieces of the trim off trying to open the door. Now, there's two possibilities why these might be bent up, because it's the same both sides. Is number one, it's been off-roading and it's hit something and it's bent them up, which I don't believe because they're both bent up a similar amount. The more likely option is on the website, it did say this car didn't roll, so I did wonder how they moved it around the site. And in the background of one of the pictures, the auction pictures, there's a bit of a forklift jobby. So I reckon it's been picked up by that at some point and bent these up. But they're rusted to hell anyway, so they do need to come off. But it's causing me issues now because it's in the way. Oh. Now this is asking a lot of my jack. It's a 2-ton jack. And this isn't a 2-ton car, it's probably about 2.5 tons, but I'm only lifting one side, so it should be okay. It's as high as I dare really, but that should be enough to get up and have a look at some stuff. Now, I promised myself that I'd never get a rusty car again, and on the face of it I didn't, but these steps are just nasty. They're rotten through. Ugh. So they've got to come off. If nothing else, they're just holding moisture and crap. So I'm going to take these off first, if I can. There looks to be like a bunch of, I don't know what size that is, but bolts running along. So hopefully that's all it is. I'll undo those. Take this off. Wow. Look at this. Oh. Put my hand through it. So why aren't you coming off? So there seems to be 3 or so brackets that come up inside here, and that's just, I don't think it should peel away like that, but there's what looks like a 13mm bolt here, so that needs to come off. Two bolts in this section. God. So there is one knackered side step. Now the brackets, the 3 brackets that hold them to the car, they're fine. They just need a little bit of cleaning up. But this portion of it is just gone. So I do like these, so I'll take the brackets off at some point and get these back on the car. Right, so now we can see the air compressor's in here underneath this cover. Also back here, this long tubular thing, is the air reservoir, the tank. So I'm going to take this cover off and have a look inside, and it's held on, this bottom bit, by 3, I think 10mm bolts, one underneath, one on the back right, one on the left. Right. Well, in there's a collection of all sorts of crap, including this white oxidized stuff, which is never a good sign because I think that's aluminium rotting away, and it looks like it's from the bottom of the bracket, but that's the compressor. We've got one of the valve blocks just over here as well. So I think what I'm going to do, because we've got lots of pipes coming in and out and all the rest of it, I'm going to get a bottle of soapy water, fire it up, let the air compressor turn on, and then spray all the unions with the solution, and hopefully we find something bubbling, because that will be where our air leak is. So just up in here, there seems to be two connectors, a blue and a red. I can even hit, you can see it bubbling there. From the red one. So the first thing I need to do, I think, is disconnect the electrical connections. So first, there's two electrical connectors. There's one here, one on the back. So I need to disconnect those first. That's one. That's them two. Now, just up here, we've got the two lines here. One red, one blue, and the red one can stay. The blue one needs to come out. Now, there will be some air in the system probably, so you do need to be careful. Wear eye protection for sure. And these come out by pushing the whole thing inwards. Hold in the blue tab and then pull the line out, and there might be some air, but we'll see. So there's no air in there, that's the problem. So that red one can stay. Now there is another two lines on the right hand side. So these, I can't get these off. The things that you push in and then pull the pipe out have just disintegrated on me, so they're wedged in there. So I am going to cut these off and I'll replace them, hopefully. Right, well that's them two off, so hopefully now I can get this bloody cover off, because it's in my way. Bloody thing. Now the compressor is mounted in this aluminium bracket. Now I would have taken the bracket off. There's a bolt here, 10mm, and one just on the inside here. But there's an impossible bolt right at the top somewhere that I can't get out with this in the way. So I'm going to remove the compressor first. And it's held in by 3 Allen bolts or something to that effect. So there's one in the bottom, one here, but you access that through the top down. And then there's one on the very, very top of the compressor. And with the cover out the way, you can get at it just. So I'll undo those 3 now. Please! That seems to be very, very loose. Now with that out of the way, I can see I can feel the third bracket bolt at the top. I am struggling to get the Allen key out of the top, so maybe I'll just take the whole bracket out. So, I think I'm just going to take this apart as much as I can, clean up what I can, renew what I can, and hopefully that solves the problem. So when I was taking this apart, there was 4 bolts in here, 2 of which snapped off. Now I tried to repair these by drilling out the bolts completely, tapping a thread, putting in a bigger bolt, and then drilling and tapping that bolt to put the original screws back in. That didn't work. This wall of aluminium was thin to start with, and as I drilled everything out, when I put the thread in, it just tore the side of this out. So what I'm going to attempt to do is to weld this back up with aluminium. Never welded with aluminium before, so I've got some argon gas. I've got the aluminium spool in the welder. I haven't got a spool gun, which you kind of need for aluminium because it's so much softer than normal steel wire. It tends to bend quite easily in the whip of the welder. But we'll give it a go, see if I can't weld this up, clean it up, and then tap a new thread in there. I'm going to clamp this plate on top as well so there's no crap getting inside. Right, so I've taken this all apart and I've tried to repair as much of it as I can. It's not gone particularly well, so there were a couple of bolts that snapped off when removing parts of this, and I've tried to drill them out and whatnot. It's not gone particularly well. I've also looked at all the other seals and various bits and bobs, and it all kind of needs replacing. So for the same sort of money as replacing all of that, I've been and bought a replacement part. It is new, it's not a genuine one, it's not even OEM, it's off eBay. It all seems to be identical, pretty much, but there is one part that isn't on here that I need to move off of this old one. And it's a rubber grommet that goes in here and holds it to this aluminium mount. Now when I took the grommet out, the centre sort of metal piece is all corroded and knackered and it fell out. So I'm going to have to make another one of these, which I can do on the lathe. Compressor is now ready to go back on the car. Before I do that, I need to get the compressor mount back on the car. Now when I took it off with it all assembled, the compressor in the mount, which was really difficult. So I'm going to put the mount back first. Now I've got some of these new clips which need to go on the subframe first, because the original ones are pretty much perished. So I've got some new ones of those, so I'll get that in next.